Good Mommin' Monday.
You're here at the Mistake Mama podcast. I'm Kaylee.
And I'm Mandy.
And we are your hosts.
This week, we are going to be talking about bouncing back as moms.
Yes.
After we have the baby, what's the expectation? What have we noticed from each of our children? And what maybe we thought would happen?
Yeah.
And what didn't.
Yes.
But first, wins, fails, books.
Wins, fails, books.
Do I have a win? I don't know if I have a win.
You don't have a win for the last week?
Trying to think. Well, my fail, I'll start with that. My fail is that my husband hurt his back. Fair. And so I've been just dealing with that. I mean, he's the one that's dealing with it, but yeah. I've been having to pick up the
as
extra
the partner.
things. Yeah. It's been hard on the kids because the kids love to roughhouse with him, and he's like, I literally cannot.
Yep.
Every time he tries, he throws it out again. And so I'm just like, I know it's hard, but just leave the kids. So that's been kind of a fail lately. A win is I got to spend some time with my friend Taylor the other day, and I haven't seen her just one-on-one in a while. And so that was nice catching up. And I went over to her house with the kids, and it was just her and I. Neither of our partners were there. And the kids played really well. We got some food and just chit-chatted, and it was really nice. Yeah. Haven't done that in a while. It's really hard to get together with other moms that are your friends.
It is.
Because when you're available, they're not.
Yeah.
And when they're available, you're not. And then you find yourself only getting together for like holidays or events or, going, but you miss that like just casualness of, hey, come over to my house. We'll just sit and talk. Like we haven't done that in a while.
No.
I
feel like we need to.
Can't remember the last time we did it.
I think honestly the last time we really have had like non-podcast related conversation was the last time we edited in your living room.
And that was just a long time ago. Yeah. It's hard.
It is.
And then, when you have to bring your kids along, sometimes you luck out and it goes really well. And sometimes it's chaos and you can't have a conversation because you're just dealing with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's my win and fail. What about you?
More fun. My I don't know. My daughter's back in school after the new year, which is fun. So that's, I guess, a win. She's doing great.
That's good.
She was able to bounce right back into it, and it's online charter school. So it is kind of an adjustment to have to be like interrupting her day and go back, so she's not physically leaving the home.
Right.
The fail part of that though, this morning we all got just sidetracked and she technically missed her live class. Oopsie. Part of me is hoping her teacher also took today off because she's sick. I mean, I don't want her teacher to be sick, but I mean, like her teacher called out yesterday because she was sick and so she didn't have live class.
Right.
Kind of hoping the same thing happened today, but I haven't checked the email yet, but she can still get attendance credit for turning in her assignments and stuff. She just missed her reading group. Yeah. And so her win, she's back and she's doing great. Her fail, she missed it.
Dang.
And that's kind of a parent fail, so.
Yeah. That'd be kind of hard. Because at least when you're going to school, for a fact you have to drive, go there, drop them off. Like it's a whole step.
Or the bus or whatever.
But when you're at home, it's just like people who work at home. When you have like a deadline, okay, well, I can push it off till whatever, and I can kind of slack on it. Well, nobody's here. Nobody can see me kind of a thing.
Yep. It's harder to interrupt that schedule and that routine and stuff.
Yeah, I feel like it takes more accountability to do it at home.
It does. It's definitely nice, though, because she can get her stuff done so much quicker throughout the day, and she has been, and that's awesome. And then she just gets the rest of the day off versus being gone in school for 8 to 9 hours or whatever it is. Yeah. And then having that disruption and stuff.
Right. Definitely.
Especially because it makes it to where she can do gymnastics at 2:30.
Right. Right. Without missing that.
Yeah. So I'm on Breaking Dawn now. I've already read through the rest of them already.
Nice. Breaking Dawn's the third one?
Fourth one. Yep. I just recently started it, so I just finished the other one now I'm on Breaking Dawn.
Nice.
And I think that I was like, oh yeah, I finished Twilight, now I'm on New Moon. Oh, I went through Eclipse. I think I did that between our episodes.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah, I don't think you mentioned that last time.
I don't think so. So I read that one.
Nice.
It's not that I'm skipping it. I read it.
That's
Just
funny.
haven't had an episode since then. So
Yeah. Nice.
And now I'm just started through Breaking Dawn.
Nice.
But
I
you,
am still on A Court of Thorns and Roses.
the first one?
Yes. Still liking it. I'm catching things that
you missed the first time.
that I missed the first time, or that now I know what they meant by it, and I didn't know until later the first time. You know what I mean? So that's really enjoyable.
That's fun.
But I just haven't had time to really sit and read, so I'm still only reading at night right now.
Fair.
So I'm going a little slow.
Yep. I've been lucky that the kids have been letting me sit a bit, which is nice.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I bet.
Okay. So into the episode. Bouncing back.
Yeah.
So both of us have had at least 2 children. I've had 3.
Yes.
And I mean, pregnancy does a lot. It changes your body, your hormones, your literal chemical makeup of how your brain works even. But it changes the physical shape of your body. And I think one of the biggest things noted about, like, you know, women in pregnancy is that bouncing back period. And it's that, you know, are you going to be able to get to that pre-pregnancy body that you had previously?
Right.
Now, realistically, it's physically impossible.
You will never get that body back.
Like, your hips are changing, your boobs are changing, your skin is, you know, your stomach has now stretched.
Right.
Your brain is larger, your heart is larger, your feet might be.
Yeah.
Your fingers might be.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, my fingers, I didn't swell at all with Anna or Damon,
Right.
but I did with Ellie, and my fingers never went back to the normal size.
Really?
My 4.5 that I was able to wear, nope.
Not anymore?
I still, to this day, cannot get it over my knuckle.
Interesting.
I know.
You know, my wedding ring has never quite fit the same since having kids. So maybe mine haven't gone down either.
Yeah, I don't know. I got a 5, and so, I mean, that one fits. I just forget to wear it because it's a different cut, and I don't love the cut.
Right.
I mean, it was a cheapish ring, so, I mean, I'm not worried about it. But
Right.
I'm going to have to get another cut because it's the square, and that gets caught on everything.
Oh, yes.
So I'm going to have to get a different one so that I actually want to wear it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I promise I'm still married.
I forget to wear my ring all the time. I just put it on this morning because I saw it there and I was like, oh, yeah, I'll put that on.
Yeah. But, like, society standards to get you back to that pre-pregnancy that you physically can't.
Yeah.
But society expects you to.
Yeah. And quickly.
Very quickly.
Like, within the first 6 months to a year, you should be back.
Yeah. And sometimes even quicker than
Sometimes
that.
even quicker, yeah.
And, like, if you take that long, then it's like you're slacking.
Right. Like, why aren't you taking care of you? Why aren't you doing, you know, you just birthed a whole human.
Yeah.
And you were also pregnant for 9 months. How do you expect to just bounce back in 2 months, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, and I had that mindset with Anna. And I remember, because I had her at just before 39 weeks. And I remember on my due date, so my baby was a little bit over a week old, I was feeling really good about how much my belly had shrunk. And I was like feeling myself. I was like, oh yeah, look at this. I'm only a week postpartum and I'm doing great.
Yeah.
Why did I care?
Right. Because society makes you care.
Exactly. I was 19. I was kind of still in this, like, I still very much cared about
Your image.
my image, what other people thought of me.
Right,
you know,
right.
was I still that hot mom type?
Yeah.
You know, now that I am a mom, do I still get to be hot?
Yeah, exactly.
I was still falling into that.
Yeah. I think a lot of women do.
Yeah.
A lot of women, and I think especially your first baby, you think, you know, well, I was fit, slender, whatever beforehand, or, you know, I preferred this body beforehand, and I'll get back to that, no problem. Once this baby's out, the baby's out, and then I'm back to normal, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, there is pregnancy weight gain. Even if you don't gain that much weight during your pregnancy, you still gain some.
Yeah.
You have to for padding purposes and
Exactly.
maintaining the child. But like you said before, your hips get wider. They have to. How else are you going to get that baby out?
Exactly.
So now if you didn't have hips before, you're going to have hips now. Mm-hmm. They may not be drastic.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to go from being a stick to being Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Even though we hope. I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, and I think the hard thing is that you do see some women that do bounce back.
Yes, I have seen people who, especially the ones that have a decent chunk of kids, and then they look phenomenal. They have a mostly flat belly. I'm sure if you were to like actually look at them, they's probably stretched to shit.
Right.
But like in their normal attire, they look skinny. They look fit, whatever. The Pilates mom that just looks fantastic.
Right.
And you're like,
what am I doing wrong?
What am I doing wrong? And then not only that, society looks at you and says, what are you doing wrong?
Exactly.
If Susan over here can do it, why can't you?
Exactly. And I think a lot of it is what you did prior to pregnancy.
It is.
If you worked out a lot prior to pregnancy, if you were very active, if you ate really well, the things that, we all should technically be doing, then you're probably going to have an easier time after baby.
Yeah.
Sometimes not, because sometimes it's just genetics.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if you have a really good, and that's why they tell you to be healthy before your pregnancy and during your pregnancy, stay active, eat well, because then it is easier to get back to that. You can't get back to that, but you can get close to that afterwards. But a lot of us go through pregnancy and we're not as active. We kind of cozy up. We tend to eat a little bit more because 1, we have to, and 2, we want to.
Exactly.
And then it makes it harder when we're done being pregnant. And then if you choose to breastfeed, that's a whole nother hunger ball game.
Oh God. Also, not to mention, just super quick, and then you can continue what you were going to say, is that society says, oh, well, breastfeeding helps you lose weight, so why haven't you lost the baby weight yet?
Mm-hmm. Because I will say that breastfeeding, I don't know if it was that, but with Maverick, after I had Maverick, I did lose weight rapidly. Like I
did with Anna too.
I was like, oh, this is, everybody, always talks about there being a struggle. Like it's just happening. Like I got below my pre-pregnancy weight, like within a few months. And I was like, well, this is nice. If this happens every time, I could have 1 million kids, And
by the time I'm done with this, I'm going to be 100 pounds.
Yeah. And I chalked it up to, well, I'm breastfeeding, and I did have really bad anxiety. And so I wasn't eating as much as I should. So that probably helped. I don't know if helped is the right word, but it, it was like a catalyst to it.
Yeah.
Sped things along and made me lose weight a lot more quickly. But then I had Quincy, and I am like, I teeter between pre-pregnancy weight and like 10 pounds more. Like I just teeter in that.
Yeah.
And the weight it was like starting to come off quickly like before, and then it halted, and then it just went back up. And I was like, wait a minute, go back the other way. So I guess those are my expectations, is that the same thing would happen like when I had Maverick, that I would just slowly go back down and, be at a weight that I was happy with.
Yeah. I also think that society isn't the biggest fan of moms being like, I like my mom body. I'm proud of what it did. Yeah, I have stretch marks. Yeah, my boobs sag. Yeah, I have, my butt's a little flatter. All these different things. My belly stretches in ways that it didn't before. If I lean over, it jiggles.
Yep.
But like, and there are so many women, myself included, who's like looking at my body and being like, yeah, it doesn't look like it was in high school, but I'm also not in high school anymore. Yeah. I'm not a teenager. I'm 25 years old. It makes sense that my body is not going to look like it did in high school, especially after having and birthing 3 children.
Right. If your body didn't look different, I'd be like, what witchery is this?
No, I know. Same. But like, I don't understand why society sits there and goes like, you can't be proud of that. You need to look like you're 17.
Right. This society has a big thing with everybody looking like children.
It does.
And
Which is funny that we're talking about this the day after, in real time, the Epstein list came out yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
yeah,
we're not going to open that can of worms today.
No, not today.
Not today. That's a different podcast.
I value my life. Just kidding.
I mean, Epstein's dead, so.
Yeah, I don't want to follow suit, though.
Fair.
Yeah. Anyway, I do think that society has a standard of like, you need to look young, you need to look fit, and that's it. I mean,
Yep.
I also, we might cut this out.
Okay.
I also feel like there is a big push, not with having children, but there is also a big push for, like, big is beautiful.
Oh, you can be healthy at any size
Mm-hmm.
thing that's going on. That, I mean,
We'll see if we leave this. Yeah, I know.
it's one of those things that's like, I feel like to a certain extent,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where the word any is the danger there, because it's like, at 800 pounds, there is no way you're a healthy human being.
Right.
It's just like, that's physically impossible. You know, I do think that what is healthy for one person is not necessarily healthy for another. And I think that was what that was intended to mean.
Right.
And people kind of took that concept and were like, okay, so I can be 800 pounds. Then I can eat cheeseburgers every single day and still call myself healthy.
Right.
And I think, and that's kind of like we've mentioned before, like in our feminism episode, how extremism can really muddle what movements are supposed to mean. Because I think what the healthy at any size was supposed to mean was like, you don't need to be a size 2
Right.
to be healthy or to be beautiful.
Right.
And I think that ideology, the you don't have to be that to be beautiful, is fantastic. And I really do think that we need to, as a society, move away from you need to look like a Victoria's Secret model to be beautiful.
Exactly.
That's not to say that we can't consider those people beautiful, because I think that's what's happened.
Yeah.
Is now we're saying if somebody is 5, 6, 7, 800 pounds, we need to call them beautiful, or, you know, we can't be looking at these, you know, skinny, you know, stereotypically fit and healthy people, and we can't think that they're beautiful.
Right.
And I think that that's a problem,
It is.
because now it's setting unrealistic expectations in the other direction. Because there are people who struggle to become thinner in the exact same way that there are people who struggle to become thicker.
Right.
You know, there are people who are truly stuck just really skinny, and no matter how hard they try, they just cannot put on
Right.
weight,
Yeah.
you know. And, you know, obviously the opposite itself is true as well. But this is one of those, like I said, extremism has tainted the movement, that now it has gone to a very unhealthy place where people who are small are told that they can't complain about their weight, that they can't
Right.
talk about struggles that they're having because, oh, shut up, you're skinny.
Right. Yep. And I also feel like, you know, it is okay to love your body at any size if that's what you so choose. However, I do think that you should strive to healthy.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean you have to strive to skinny, but you should
Exactly.
strive to healthy, you know, and vice versa. If you are very thin, you know, you can love your body at very thin, but you should also strive for healthy. If you are healthy at whatever your size you're at, then great. But it's these people that are, like you were saying, like way up there in the weight, that there is no way you are healthy.
Yeah.
Like, you may love yourself, and that is fantastic. Love yourself, but also take care of yourself and understand that you may need to make some changes to, you know, attain that healthiness.
Exactly.
And I know they're always like, you know, how do you, what is healthy for everybody? You know, and I
Exactly.
think it's different for everybody.
I think it's more of like a ballpark. Like, if you fall within this range of weight, odds are you are healthy. That does not mean if you are within this weight that you are healthy.
Right.
Because somebody can be in a healthy weight range and still be eating very badly and be clogging their arteries and stuff. But it's like that general rule of thumb that's like, just because you technically fall out of this range does not mean you're unhealthy. And just because you're in it doesn't mean you are. It's like humans are so complex. Their bodies are so complex. And not to mention that there are huge height discrepancies that make a major difference. Like, while 120 might be within a healthy weight range for someone of my height, someone who is 4 or 5 inches taller than me, and I'm only 5'1", depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
5'1", 5'2", depending on which doctor I'm going to.
That's funny.
So 5'1", that's my average.
Yep.
Somebody who's like 5'8" to 6'4", somewhere in that range, 120 would be like you are anorexic. And I mean, I use that term obviously very loosely.
Right.
But they would be at a very unhealthy, underweight, whatever. But like, so there isn't a one size fits all.
Yeah.
But even a range would have to be so wide. And that's why they use like the BMI thing.
Yeah.
But like that doesn't take into account muscle mass or bone density. And I know that bone density doesn't play a huge role because it doesn't increase the weight of your bones by a drastic amount, but still.
Yeah. Well, and I think it also doesn't take into like, different ethnicities. They're just built different.
Exactly.
And they carry weight different. And I don't know. I think it's just something that you have to like, you and your doctor or whoever just need to come up with what's healthy for you, what's healthy for me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And we need to stop just like criticizing everybody for what size they are based off of like if they're healthy or not.
Exactly. Especially because you can't just look at somebody and assume that they're healthy.
Right.
The people watching this right now, they could probably easily look at one of us and be like, that person's healthy, that person's unhealthy. But it could totally be the opposite.
Exactly. Yeah.
And you cannot tell just by looking at somebody, but weight is something that we as a society tend to obsess over. Like there are certain circumstances where your weight is important. During pregnancy, your weight is important. During, if you have diabetes, oftentimes, specifically type 2, if you, English, oh my God, if you have type 2 diabetes, oftentimes your doctor is managing your type 2 diabetes by having you do diet changes. And so your weight might be important. There's a number of things that, your weight truly is important. But on a day-to-day basis, it is not a good marker of how healthy you are as a person.
Right.
And, that postpartum year, because I mean, technically like, the 4th trimester is only 3 months or whatever. But really, it's that entire first year where...
Yeah, and some say 2.
Yeah. Where so many things in your body are changing, and sometimes more rapidly than other things, that it's like, how do you even determine healthiness during that year? Because like you're not pregnant anymore, so it's not like you can just be like, oh yeah, well, we're talking about how much are you gaining, because pregnancy seems to be the only time in most women's lives where they are encouraged to gain weight.
Right.
Rather than lose weight where that can be unhealthy.
Yeah.
And so how do you measure that first year, 2 years, give or take, and place yourself on that valuation? Because we are all valuing ourselves in a certain way. Nobody's just looking at their body and being like, I don't care.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there are some people, but majority of us aren't.
Yeah.
So how do you gauge that?
Right.
Especially if you're someone like me that I tend to just pop kids out every 2 years. It's like, so my weight apparently hasn't mattered since before I had Anna.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever had more than 2 years between pregnancies.
Yeah.
Because Anna was 2.5 when Damon was born. So I was pregnant.
Oh, right.
Before that 2 year.
Yep.
Yep. So never been there.
Yep.
Hasn't mattered since like 2016 for me. I'm obviously joking.
I think too that talking about how, you're encouraged to gain weight during pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes that can affect women. Like, okay, I'll speak for myself. So growing up and just being a slightly bigger person, woman, whatever you want to, say.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I've always been like super into diet culture. What's the next thing that's going to make me lose weight?
Yeah.
What's the thing that's going to make me lose weight faster? It's everybody, a majority of people go through that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest things with pregnancy or with Maverick in the beginning, is I didn't obsess about it. I wasn't obsessed about my weight. I wasn't obsessed about, what I was eating, what I wasn't eating. But then there was a part in my pregnancy, I can't remember if it was Maverick or Quincy. I think it was Quincy, where I had a big jump one week where it was like a 10-pound jump. And we were like, what happened? And so she had me writing a food log so she could make sure that, it wasn't something that I was eating.
Yep.
Well, that food log put me back into the mindset of dieting. And it was really hard to get me out of that again. And I'm still like a little bit struggling with it because I don't know, something about a diet really fucks with my brain. And it almost makes me like...
You become hyper aware.
Super hyper aware. And then it almost makes me want to hide things from myself.
Yes.
Like if I'm writing a food log and I'm like...
I had mac and cheese and hot dogs. No, I didn't.
Or like I forgot to write that down. So then the next day I can look back and it didn't happen. You know what I mean? And so it kind of put me into that mind space. And because it was a pregnancy, I was really like, I was very honest with it. But it still just took me back to that point. I'll throw this in here. The 10-pound weight gain, I ended up having a lot of amniotic fluid.
Oh.
And then it went back down.
Gotcha.
If anybody was curious why I had that.
I'm hitting my mic. I'm so sorry. I'm like trying to pull my...
Dong, dong, dong.
I could feel my thing slipping as I moved my leg. And I'm like, I just want to readjust.
Oh, yeah,
now I'm hitting everything.
So I think for some women, when you're being told, you need to gain this amount for pregnancy, then when you're done being pregnant, it's hard to shift back to, okay, I need to eat well, but if you're breastfeeding, I also need to eat X amount of calories more so that I'm making sure that, the baby's okay. And it's just a lot of focus on your food. And if you have any, I don't even want to say eating disorder, but eating disorder or close to, then I feel like that can be a really major struggle.
It can.
And I mean, with Maverick, I feel like after I got past the bulk of the anxiety, then I was really focused on, okay, I need to eat 500 extra calories. I was hyper focused on getting the extra 500 calories with Maverick, but with Quincy, and maybe it's just a subsequent kid type thing, I just eat when I'm hungry.
Yeah. I don't remember if I was super whatever with Anna. I mean, a little bit. Like I was making sure that I was like eating salmon and tilapia, which I am now magically allergic to, by the way, which is so much fun. Thanks, Damon. Because it was after his pregnancy that I became allergic to it, which if you didn't know that that's a thing, it's a thing. You can become allergic to things that you weren't allergic to prior because of a pregnancy.
Joy.
You can also become no longer allergic to things. I have learned. That has not yet happened to me with tilapia, though. And I'm very sad because I used to eat it with a regular basis. But now I can't. I'm sad. Anyways. I'm salty, sorry. I don't remember with Anna's pregnancy if I was like super whatever, but I know that I was pretty good about making sure that I was eating my meats and I was eating my vegetables, and I was like, I was making sure that I was eating decent meals. With Damon's pregnancy, I remember distinctly not doing that.
Yeah.
And then with Ellie's, I was even less so. Ironically enough, with each of those pregnancies, I was roughly 10 pounds more per pregnancy.
Yeah.
Just as like, but I gained that weight in between the pregnancies, not during the pregnancies.
Okay.
But I gained the most. I think I gained the most during Anna's pregnancy, but then I lost it all.
Yeah.
And I got, I think, within 5 pounds of my pre-pregnancy weight. And then I started having thyroid issues, and then I gained weight to try to fix that. And that didn't work.
Right.
And then I just have always stayed a little bit bigger, roughly 30 pounds-ish, bigger than I was pre-pregnancy, pre-any pregnancy.
Yeah. I gained the most with Maverick, but then I lost 20 pounds more. And then, so that's where I started out with Quincy. And then I gained I think I gained 30 pounds. I think I gained 40 pounds with Maverick. Or it was like 30 something, but I think it was close to 40. And then I gained like 30 pounds with Quincy.
Yeah.
And with Quincy, like 12, 15 of it has come off.
Fair.
So I'm like,
Yeah. I think I gained like 25 with Anna. I think I gained 20 to 15, somewhere in there, with Damon. And then I think I gained 15 with Ellie. But like the amount that you are supposed to gain during pregnancy also depends on how much you weighed prior to pregnancy. They say if you weigh more, you should gain less.
Yeah.
If you weigh less, you should gain more. So it's like, so people who are, I don't want to use the word obese, but I mean,
right.
They're only supposed to gain like 10, 15 pounds. Whereas people who are like, super skinny should gain like 35, and
Right.
that whole thing. And that messes with your brain. Because if you fall out of that,
Then you feel like I'm doing something wrong.
yeah.
Yeah. And then it becomes a stress because I gain more than I should, both pregnancies. And I like, once I hit that mark of, okay, if I gain any more, I'm over that mark. I just was like, okay, well, I gained most of my weight at the very, very end.
I think that's kind of pretty average. And
Yeah.
I mean, your baby is gaining a lot of weight by that point
Right.
too. So a lot of that is baby and amniotic fluid and placenta and whatever.
Yeah. Because I think it was, for Maverick, it was all third trimester. With Quincy, I gained a little bit in the second and then all third trimester. But I remember getting to that part and I was like, I still have a few weeks to go. Like, I know I'm going to put on weight until I, have this baby. And then you're like, well, I just won't eat how I was eating.
Yeah.
And then you're like, but I'm at the end of my pregnancy and I don't care.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you get through that cycle.
And there's just like so much, with pregnancy and right afterwards, and then just like life in general. But then it's like there's just an extra stigma because we're women and now we're moms.
Right.
And it's like we're expected to have this like perfect nutrition, perfect life, perfect body, perfect whatever, because don't you dare let the world know that you're a mom.
Yep.
It's like we cannot win.
Yeah. We've talked about this before, that you and I both, since having kids, have enjoyed our bodies more.
Yes.
We've been very thankful for what our bodies were capable of doing, carrying these babies, birthing these babies. And I think that's great. Are there things that I want to work on? Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. I think there always will be. I think even if I got down to the weight that I wanted, the measurements I wanted, I think I would always be able to find something because we're human. That's what we do. But overall, like, I'm very happy with my body. I'm very happy with what it was capable of.
Exactly. Same.
And I think that all women that go through a pregnancy should feel that way. Your body did so much. Should you always continue to strive for, like we've said, being healthy? Yes, absolutely. But you got to give yourself grace, especially in that, I would say, year to 2 years. Give yourself some grace. You don't try to just like immediately get back to where you were.
Yeah.
Because for one, like we said, you're not going to. And for two, it could take some time, and that's okay. Focus on your baby. Your baby's only going to be this little once.
Exactly. And if you're like gung-ho about, losing 20 pounds right afterwards, you could also run the risk of jeopardizing your breastfeeding, because breastfeeding requires an increase in calories.
Right.
And it uses a lot of calories, So if you aren't inputting what your body needs in order to produce it, you're going to start to struggle with breastfeeding.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
And there's just an added other thing.
Mm-hmm. And we didn't even, I'll just touch on this really quick. We didn't even touch on the woman's cycle. You weigh different at different times of your cycle.
Oh, yes.
Like, I think it's within 5 to 9 pounds or something.
Yep, that you'll sit there and just vary in a month.
And so if, you're closer to your period, you tend to weigh more. Mm-hmm. And so if you see that, let's say it is a 9-pound increase and you're like, what did I do? What am I doing wrong? And then I know some women, they'll see that increase. You're at your period. A lot of times I feel like all rational thought goes out the window. Yeah. Then you're like, well, fuck it. I'm just going to eat whatever I want. So then you get done with your period and then that 9 pounds stays with you because you just said, fuck it. Down. Yeah. Then, it's, we live in a cycle.
Not to mention when you weigh yourself too.
Yes, exactly. Morning versus night and
naked versus clothed, just eaten or been a few hours.
Yep. Yeah.
I think that's why they say like you should try to weigh yourself at the same time every single day. Mm-hmm. Like, before you have eaten anything in the morning, when you're getting dressed, so you're already naked, weigh yourself and then have that be the same thing that you do every day, because then it's more consistent.
Right.
Because if you weigh yourself an hour after you've eaten, you're gonna, how much did your food weigh? Because there it is.
Because that's how much it's gonna weigh right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
In addition to the other things that come with just measuring at different times.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a struggle.
It is. And it's an unfair struggle.
I know. I wish it was just like, okay, you just had a baby, like give yourself some time. And that's what some people around you are saying. But then I feel like when you're on social media and when you're, looking and comparing yourself to others, that's when you fall into the, what am I doing wrong? I need to lose weight. I need to gain weight. I need to, blah, 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 blah. And it's just a lot. And it'd be so much easier if we could just focus on ourselves and just ourselves.
Yeah. And that's not even, and we're not going to get into this. We can get into this in a completely different episode. Sizes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the fact that sizes are completely inconsistent and yet we are expected to fit within a size.
Yep.
I was saying earlier, the whole, if you're not a size 2, whatever, but you might be a size 2 in one store and a size 12 in another.
Yeah, exactly.
And yes, it does vary that much.
It does.
You can be an extra small and a large in 2 different brands. Mm-hmm. I have I'm wearing a size extra small. Mm-hmm. The sweats that I was wearing yesterday were a size large and are tight on me.
Yeah, it's weird. It's annoying.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm glad my husband was the one who bought my sweats for Christmas. Mm-hmm. I'm glad he didn't get a size medium because they wouldn't have fit me.
Yeah.
And that's just at my thighs. Mm-hmm. That has nothing to do with like my hips or my butt or anything. It's literally just like the sweats. And sweats are supposed to be baggy. And these were larges.
Yeah. So they should have been a little bit loose on you.
And then, like I said, I'm wearing extra smalls right now and they are baggy on me.
Yeah. Makes no sense.
We'll get into this in another episode.
Makes no sense.
Anyways, you don't have to bounce back.
No.
Within any timeline. Mm-hmm. Do, especially postpartum. Mm-hmm. Do, which I mean is what this is about. So whatever. That was a little bit redundant to say, but whatever.
That's okay.
Do what makes you the most comfortable and what you and your provider agree is healthy for you and your body.
Yep.
Not what the internet says, not what social media says, not what Time magazine says, not what Victoria's Secret says, not what anybody else says other than you and the person who is monitoring your health.
Right.
Those are the only 2 people that matter in what healthy is for you.
Right.
And if it takes you 3 years to lose the baby weight, cool.
Yeah.
If you end up being heavier, cool.
Yeah.
I will never be at my pre-pregnancy weight, nor is it really, I think technically it's considered healthy for my height. Mm-hmm. But realistically, I am a healthier person now than I was when I was 100 pounds.
Yeah. You hear that a lot where, people will come on social media, I'm saying, and be like, you guys were all saying that I looked so good back then and now I look unhealthy. I'm the most healthy I've ever been. Mm-hmm. When back then I was, overeating and whatever and taking whatever. And you know what I mean? And like, you just never truly know by looking at a person.
Exactly. Like at 100 pounds, yeah, I was 100 pounds and, you know, I was a cheerleader, so I was active, but I was eating Blasto Butter popcorn every single day when I got home from school. I was eating candy. I was drinking 2 sodas a day. I drink maybe a soda once every 2 weeks now. Like, I don't eat popcorn every single day. I very rarely consume candy. Like, in general, I am healthier with my diet. I am walking 10,000 steps a day. I didn't do that.
Right.
The only exercise I ever did was for cheer. And I wasn't the person doing the heavy lifting. I was the one that was the heavy lifting, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, the only thing that I really did was the dancing, which I mean, yes, is, but that was a commitment that I made that my parents are paying for.
Right.
So I kind of had
You had to stick with it.
versus just genuinely wanting to be healthier.
Right.
And to feel good. And I feel good. And I feel like I look at my body and I'm like, yeah.
And that's good.
Whereas before I was so judgmental. I was squeezing myself into jeans that were too small for me. I was sucking in my gut because I wanted to look so skinny. And I prided myself on being so skinny.
Right.
If I could shove myself into 00 Miss Me's, I would. I would force myself into those extra smalls while in the same breath trying to wear 34Ds. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know, I was stuffing my bra. I was occasionally stuffing my pants because I wanted the bigger butt, but I needed to have that teeny tiny waist. I was sucking in my gut every single day because I wanted to look as physically tiny as possible. And when someone said I was teeny tiny in a stick, I said thanks.
Right.
And now I'm like, I'm so glad that that version of me no longer exists.
Yeah.
That version of me was so into diet culture and my body image that I was unhealthy physically and mentally. Now someone might disagree and be like, no, you have like a little bit of punch here.
You do.
So, oh yeah, you must be unhealthy. You have stretch marks on your belly. You know, you fit into a size large. Okay.
Yeah. But if you just love your body and you're healthy, then I think that's okay.
My doctor would agree that I'm a healthy person.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, don't feel like you have to fit into any standard, but just be healthy.
Just be healthy. Be healthy for you. Not healthy for Sam. Not healthy for Melinda. I don't know what your friends' names are. We're just going to pretend you have friends, Sam and Melinda, okay? Be healthy for you. Make sure not only your mind is healthy, or your body is healthy, but also your mind.
Yes.
That's what I was trying to say. I jumped the gun a little bit.
Definitely.
Your body and your mind are healthy, and enjoy your time with your baby. Fuck social media. Fuck society.
Literally.
Be the healthiest version of you, whatever that looks like.
Yep.
Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And share this with somebody who maybe needs it, because we all need a little bit of support.
We do.
We do.
We will see you guys on the next one.
See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.